Mrs. Elaine, 69 years old, was standing in her kitchen when the phone rang. It was her cousin from California, calling to check in. "Elaine, can you still manage the cleaning on your own these days? Because every time I bend down, I have to pray my knees don't give up on me." Elaine chuckled. She glanced around her bright, tidy kitchen, an empty sink, clear countertops, and replied softly, "Actually, my house is pretty neat, and I don't really have to struggle anymore." A few minutes after hanging up, Elaine sat at the table and paused in silence. That answer made her realize something. She had truly changed. No more afternoons drained from trying to scrub every corner. No more heavy sighs each morning when waking up to a cluttered house. Just a few months ago, she had to sit down halfway through folding laundry. It felt like the entire house was working against her age, against her fading energy. But things shifted. The moment she stopped trying to clean it all and started doing just one thing differently. She changed the way she lived in her home, one small habit at a time. With just 6 tiny habits, less than 20 minutes a day, Elaine reclaimed a clean, peaceful home, without exhaustion, without overwhelm. And if you're over 60 and feel like every drawer, every pile, every corner is a battle, then today's story may offer you a new path. By the end of this video, you'll have 6 simple habits to keep your home clean and tidy, without burning out or spending your entire day cleaning. Ready to discover what changed Elaine's everyday life? Let's begin. Habit 1. Pick up just 10 items each time. The simplest way to start reclaiming order without spending an entire afternoon cleaning. Elaine no longer tries to clean the whole house in one Sunday afternoon. Instead, she began with a habit incredibly simple. But it was this very habit that made her feel like her home could finally breathe again. Just pick up 10 out-of-place items each time. Not 15. Not as many as possible. Exactly 10 items. She counts in her head. 1 remote on the dining table, 1 sock on the sofa, 1 used glass by the bedside, until she reaches 10 and then stops. This habit came to her on an ordinary afternoon. She had just finished lunch and was about to lie down when her eyes wandered across the living room. It wasn't dirty, but since everything felt off. A magazine hanging half off the armrest, a scarf drooping from a hook, a pen, a bill, a bottle of pills scattered here and there. None of it was major, but together they made the space feel heavy. She thought about cleaning it all, then remembered what an old friend once said, "Never start with the whole house, start with just 10 things." So she gave it a try. That first time, she counted 10 and was surprised it took less than 3 minutes. And oddly enough, even with just those few changes, the room felt noticeably lighter. From then on, Elaine made it a routine, twice a day, once after lunch while she still had some energy, and once after dinner as a way to prepare for a peaceful evening. Each time, she picked just 10 items. And the most important part? She didn't move things into a temporary pile. She returned them to where they belonged. Elaine shared, "At first, I thought, what can 10 items really change? But after a week, my home felt completely different. And I felt mentally lighter every time I sat down." What she didn't expect was, this habit helped her avoid feeling overwhelmed because she no longer had to tackle everything. Her brain started learning to spot clutter and act quickly with clarity. And here's the thing, 10 items x 2 times a day 7 days equal 140 things put back in their place. That's no small number. Some days, she'd find a missing earring. Other days, an old photo of her late husband tucked inside a book. Elaine laughed and said, "It's like a little treasure hunt every day." But more than tidiness, it was the feeling of slowly reclaiming control over her space, bit by bit, that kept her going all this time. Is there a room in your home that makes you sigh every time you walk in? Leave a comment. Maybe today is the day that room begins to change. Habit 2, the 5-minute morning reset. A small habit that helps your entire home and your mood feel calmer, starting from sunrise. Elaine used to have what she now calls her morning trap. Every day, she'd wake up, walk into the kitchen, and the first thing she'd see, a cluttered countertop, a few unwashed glasses from the night before, mail left on the table, a canvas bag still holding yesterday's groceries. Not a disaster, not overwhelming, but just messy enough to make her feel like the day was starting in chaos. And the truth is, when we start our day in a mess, it often stays messy, in our home and our mind. Then one morning, Elaine remembered something an old friend once said. Morning is when your mind is clearest. Don't waste it searching for a place to make your coffee. She chuckled and stood up. For the first time, she set a 5-minute timer as soon as she stepped into the kitchen. And during those 5 minutes, she followed one simple rule she later called the one-touch rule. It means this: if she touches something, she makes a decision. Put it away or throw it away. No, I'll deal with it later. If something takes longer than 10 seconds, it goes into a designated basket to handle after breakfast. What surprised her was how much the kitchen changed. In just 5 minutes, she didn't do a full clean. She simply removed the sense that she was living among unfinished tasks. Elaine shared, "I didn't think 5 minutes could have that much power. But because of it, I made coffee faster, enjoyed breakfast more, and most of all, I started the day feeling in control, not pushed around." And the best part? Her knees didn't ache because she wasn't bending down constantly. Her shoulders didn't get sore because there was no heavy lifting. She started her day without needing anyone's help, just a timer and a quiet, firm decision. I'm not going to give clutter a chance to settle. Sometimes, just a few tidy minutes in the morning is what keeps the entire afternoon from falling apart. What does your morning usually look like at home? I'd love to hear your story. Share it in the comments below. Habit 3, the smart dishwashing strategy, a simple trick to keep your kitchen from ever feeling overwhelming, even when your energy is running low. Elaine never hated cooking. In fact, her little kitchen became her happy place after she retired. But there was one thing she always tried to avoid: doing the dishes. Not because she was lazy, but because at 68, standing by the sink for more than 5 minutes had become a challenge. Her knees ached from standing too long. Her back hurt from bending and lifting heavy pots. And worst of all, once she was done, she had no energy left for anything else. One evening, after dinner with her best friend May, who's lived alone for over 20 years, Elaine noticed something odd. They'd eaten the same food, cooked the same amount. But after dinner, May's sink had only 2 bowls and 2 pairs of chopsticks. No pots, no pans, no big mess. Elaine laughed and asked, "What are you, a magician? How do you cook without making anything to wash?" May smiled and said, "I don't clean up after I eat. I clean while I cook, and I only ever use 1 pot and 1 pan. That's it." From that day on, Elaine called it her smart dishwashing strategy, and she followed 3 simple rules. Wash as you go. While waiting for water to boil or the oven to preheat, Elaine would quickly wash whatever she'd already used. This way, by the time dinner was done, there were only 1 or 2 small items left, no mountain of dishes staring her down. Don't use more than necessary. Instead of grabbing 2 bowls, a plate, and a spoon, she'd find ways to reuse the same utensil if it was still clean. Less to use, less to clean. Place a soft mat near the sink, so when her back or knees started to hurt, she could take a short break and still get the job done. 2 weeks later, something unexpected happened. Elaine no longer dreaded washing dishes, because it no longer felt like a chore. It felt like something she was doing for herself. She said, "Once I stopped feeling drained by the dishes, I could actually enjoy my evening tea again. Not as a reward for surviving a battle, but as a quiet moment to myself." If you've ever felt discouraged by a full sink, try paying attention today. Is there something you can wash while you're cooking? Are you using more utensils than you truly need? Sometimes, small shifts lead to big relief. Habit 4. The small circle clean up, the simple secret Elaine calls her circle of relief. There were days when Elaine looked around her home and didn't know where to start. The sofa was messy. Papers covered the coffee table. The kitchen counter had smudges. And even though she lived alone in a small 1-story house, it sometimes felt like she was stuck in a never-ending market rush. She had tried many methods, making to-do lists, scheduling cleaning days, even using apps. But everything made her feel like there was too much to do, and yet she still didn't know what to do first. Then one day, while walking in the park, Elaine saw a little boy playing on the sidewalk with chalk. Instead of running around picking up toys from all over, he simply drew a small circle and picked up everything inside that circle. Elaine stopped, smiled, and thought, if that little boy can tidy up with a small circle, maybe I can too. When she got home, she tried something new. She placed a chair right in the middle of her living room, and she told herself, I'll only clean what's within arm's reach, what I can touch without standing up. That first small circle began with just 5 items: a blanket folded neatly, a magazine tucked into the drawer, a glass brought to the kitchen, a cloth used to wipe the table, a half-finished ball of yarn gently put away. It took her less than 5 minutes, and when she stood up, she was surprised because the space around her looked noticeably calmer. From then on, Elaine practiced her circle cleaning. She'd sit in one spot, pick a starting point, and only clean within that small circle. Not the whole room. Just one circle at a time. Little by little, those small circles added up until her entire home felt clean again. And the best part? She never felt exhausted. Elaine shared, I'm no longer afraid of cleaning the house because I know all I need is one small area, just enough to feel good, not drained. Maybe today you don't have a lot of strength, but maybe you do have a chair and an arm's reach. That's all you need, he said, to begin your own circle of relief, just like Elaine did. Where will you start your first small circle? The edge of your bed, a corner of the kitchen table, or right where you're sitting now? Try it, and tell me how you feel when you stand up. Habit number 5. Clear the surfaces. Fewer surfaces. Fewer things to clean, fewer things to remember, and more peace of mind. Elaine used to have a habit of decorating every flat surface in her home. If it was flat, something was placed on it. Photo frames, flower vases, little figurines, scented candles, souvenir plates. At first, it made the home feel lively. But over time, it started to feel suffocating. Every time she needed to clean, she had to move item after item. Every time she looked for something, her eyes scanned through dozens of cluttered objects. Every morning, she woke up to see crowded countertops, like rest had never arrived. One cold morning, Elaine brewed a cup of tea and sat at the dining table, the place she considered the center of all her daily routines. In front of her were a tea tray, 2 fake flower vases, 3 small photo frames, and a candy dish. With sticky leftovers from last Christmas, she sat there, didn't drink, didn't think, just looked. And then she softly whispered to herself, "I'm tired of seeing too much." Right then, she stood up, got a large box, and left just 1 fresh flower vase on the table. Everything else, she tucked away into the cabinet under the sink. Strangely enough, when she returned to her chair, the room felt bigger, not because there was more space, but because her mind felt lighter. Elaine called it returning quiet to the surface, and from that day on, she made a promise: no more than 3 items on any surface in the house. Soon, everything started to change. Cleaning became quicker, finding things became easier, and mornings began in a space that no longer tangled her thoughts. She said, "I still keep sentimental things, but I don't need to see them all the time. I choose empty surfaces, so there's space for peace." If your home seems fine, but your mind still feels heavy when you look around, take a closer look at your surfaces today. Maybe you don't need to throw anything away. Maybe you just need to put some of it away. Is there a surface in your home that feels overloaded? The kitchen counter, the top of your fridge, or the TV stand? Try clearing just one today and tell me what changed. Habit number 6, disconnect to recharge. A home doesn't just need to be clean, it also needs to be quiet. Elaine once had a habit she didn't even realize. The TV was always on, even when she wasn't watching. Her phone stayed right beside her, even when she wasn't expecting any calls. She said, "I was afraid of silence, because I live alone." But then she began to notice a shift. She wasn't sleeping deeply. Her mind always felt scattered. Everything seemed urgent, even though no one was rushing her. The house looked tidy, but inside her head, it was still a mess. One day, after a routine checkup, her doctor asked, "Do you feel like you're truly resting?" Elaine smiled, but couldn't answer. And that was the moment she decided to try something small. She turned off all devices 1 hour before bed. At first, it felt empty. No background noise, no updates, no chatting. But after just 3 days, she felt something shift. She slept better, she woke up clearer, and her mornings no longer felt like she was rushing towards something unknown. She began to create little recovery pockets in her home. A corner without screens, 1 hour each evening with no news, 1 afternoon a week with no appointments. She called it mental decluttering. Elaine realized keeping a clean home is a good thing, but if the mind stays cluttered, the space around you can't help much. Every time I turn off a device, I'm turning something back on inside myself. Maybe you've never tried this before, but 1 hour without screens could be the one thing you need to finally start feeling at peace. Do you have a time in the day when you're completely unplugged? If not, try switching off the TV, the phone, just for 1 hour. Who knows, it might become the most precious hour of your day. Elaine once believed that to keep a clean home at 70, she needed a stronger body or someone to help her. But after days of quietly sticking to small habits, she realized what she truly needed was a new way of living. not spending all day cleaning, not fighting against piles of stuff, and not trying to be who she was when she was younger, but simply learning to look at her home with softer, more realistic eyes. And instead of asking, "How much do I need to get done today?" she began asking, "What's one small thing I can do today to make tomorrow a little lighter?" These 6 habits, they're not complicated. They don't require you to be stronger, faster, or to change everything overnight. They only ask for one small choice each day. And little by little, you'll start to feel your home and your life are no longer as cluttered as they once were. If you're still here and you've stayed with us until the very last moment, thank you, because that means you're ready for change, not for anyone else, but for the peace and lightness you truly deserve. If one of today's habits made you nod in agreement, let me know in the comments below. And if you know someone who's also feeling lost inside a cluttered home and a tired heart, send them this video. It might just be the most healing gift you could offer today. And don't forget to hit subscribe to Senior Rise, so each week we can keep learning how to live lighter, one gentle step at a time.